We begin with security matters, where the air component of Operation Hadin Kai has reportedly killed at least 70 Islamic State in West Africa ISWAP fighters in airstrikes across the southern Lake Chad region. The strikes targeted camps led by notorious ISWAP commander Usman Russia on November 5. The airstrikes hit camps in Kwallaram and Arainna Ciki, located near Kwallaram and Arainna local government area of Borno State. Reports indicate that 79 casualties were recorded at the Kwallaram camp, while several militants were also killed at Arainna Ciki. However, the exact number of fatalities at Arainna Ciki remains unknown. Following the strike, ISWAP mobilized additional fighters from its Sambisa wing, regrouping in the areas of Kusuma and Sigir. In the meantime, bandits' attack on Mera community in the Algier local government area of Kebbi State has claimed the lives of 15 residents. The attack was confirmed by the Deputy Governor Abubakar Umar Tafida, who expressed condolences to the victims' families. The 15 victims have been laid to rest in a funeral attended by the Deputy Governor, Commissioner of Police, and the Emir. The incident comes on the heels of recent attacks befalling the country, especially the north, due to insecurity. Elsewhere, Katsina State Police Command reported that security operatives successfully foiled multiple bandit attacks in Jibia local government area, rescuing 21 victims late on Thursday night. In the intense gunfight, one community watch corps member and a vigilante lost their lives. Police spokesperson ASP Abubakar Sadiq stated on Friday that bandits launched coordinated assault on Keida, Ungwa, One Boy, and Danmake in Jibia Township. A swift joint response from police, military, and community watch teams led to a gun battle lasting for over an hour, ultimately forcing the bandits to flee. 16 victims were rescued and 5 people were injured and were also taken to the hospital. Let's also tell you that a special independent investigative panel on human rights violations in counterinsurgency operations in Nigeria's northeast region, set up by the National Human Rights Commission in Abuja, has found the Nigerian military culpable of acts of infanticide and killing of community members in Abisare village in Borno State on June 16, 2016. The 7-man panel, chaired by former Supreme Court Judge Justice Abdullah Boki, which investigated allegations of human rights violations in the Northeast, including allegations by international news agency Reuters, claiming that the military had engaged in over 10,000 forced abortions in the region. However, absolved the military of the allegations, describing them as false and untrue.
Did not find the military culpable, and listen very carefully, did not find the military culpable for the massacre of children in Kukawa, in Gasarwa, in Alagarno, and in many parts of New Marte. But the panel found the military culpable of infanticide and the killing of community members in a village of Abisare in Marte local government area of Borno State on the 16th of June 2016.
Now, in the light of the recent detention and quizzing of the immediate past governor of Delta State, Ifeanyi Okowa, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission regarding alleged misappropriation of 1.3 trillion naira from the 13% derivation fund between 2015 and 2023, Ijaw National Congress Worldwide President Professor Benjamin Okaba has called upon the EFCC to expand its investigation to include Nigeria's immediate past President Muhammadu Buhari concerning allegations of billions of dollars in crude oil exchange loans for federal road construction and rehabilitation in the Niger Delta region and beyond. Professor Okaba revealed this in an exclusive interview with News Central's correspondent Austin Azu in Asaba, Delta State capital, where he expressed concern over the underdevelopment of the Niger Delta region despite its role as the nation's economic backbone. Here is his report.
Following the transfer of power to Governor Sheriff Oboriwori on May 29, 2023, numerous interest groups promptly initiated calls for the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate former Governor Ifeanyi Okowa's 8-year tenure through protest, press briefing, and formal letters. The voice of Edwin Clark, prominent leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum and elder statesman, was particularly vocal in calling for an EFCC investigation into Okowa's handling of the 13% oil derivation fund from 2015 to 2023. After months of pressure, the anti-graft agency launched its investigation, inviting and detaining the former governor at its Port Harcourt Zonal Command for an extended period. Though a cross-section of respondents in Asaba, Delta State capital, expressed diverse views regarding the former governor's arrest and detention.
Now, when a citizen of Nigeria is arrested, just like your question, the EFCC or every other security agency has 24 hours to charge that person to court, or in extreme cases, 48 hours. But that has not happened in this case.
Even if, say, they find out, say, even do anything, but by what time, the man try for Delta State. Make I say at least 80% of Deltans can testify that, yes, this man did work.
Professor Benjamin Ukaba, president of Ijaw National Congress Worldwide, responded to the development by underscoring the constitutional requirement for present and past leaders to account for their stewardship. He urged the EFCC to pursue a rigorous investigation and extend an invitation to former President Muhammadu Buhari to address the significant foreign debt accumulated during his presidency.
Sometimes when you say you are zeroing on Okowa, what about Buhari? The anti-graft agency, is it made for some persons? Let Buhari come and show us the roads that he constructed with the loans that are making Nigeria to suffer the much we are suffering. Even the current president mentioned it, that he inherited heavy burden. If he inherited heavy burden, who should be held responsible? What is the anti-graft agency doing about it?
Although the EFCC has not issued an official statement, it remains unclear whether the former governor has been released or still being questioned since his detention earlier this week. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
We also tell you that the Ijaw Youth Council has expressed concern over the halting of federal allocations to Rivers State, describing it as politically motivated and aimed at destabilizing Governor Siminalayi Fubara's administration. Spokesman of the IYC, Ambassador Binibe Yerin Principal, while addressing the issue in Bayelsa State, said the recent federal court ruling suspending funds to Rivers State harms the populace without just cause and weakens democratic principles. He warned that actions like these could lead to identity crisis, societal division, and increased marginalization of the Ijaw people. The IYC has urged President Bola Tinubu to respond emphatically and swiftly to address these grievances, stressing the need to prevent further unrest within the Niger Delta region. And now to further discuss this, I'm joined by Bedford Berefa, spokesperson, Ijaw Youth Council. Thank you so much, Mr. Bedford, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, so quickly, can you share with us in terms of your thoughts as regards the recent court ruling looking at the halt in federal allocations to Rivers State and how it would affect the Ijaw people?
All right, first and foremost, we have to correct the impression. Rivers State is not a mono-ethnic society. Rivers State is a multidimensional ethnic society. It's not solely an Ijaw territory. So there are other ethnic nationalities. You have the Queres, we have the Ogonis, and we have, other, respectable ethnic nationalities in Rivers State. However, I have said time with that number that the judiciary holds a very strategic position in maintaining peace and stability in society. They are seen as the hope of the common man. But whereas the judiciary is now giving sway, to manipulated judgment, as it were, where justice in Nigeria is now being bought. It's like bribing the police on the highway. That is what justice system has been reduced to. And we call on the judiciary to take strategic and very, very prominent step to ensure that this counter judgment and judgment that will affect the progress, the growth of society. They should think critically before making such judgment. And for us as the Judges Council, that judgment does not hold water. Is against the the principles of justice. And I said time with that number that the Judicial Act may lead to anarchy in Rivers State, and that's not what we want as a people, as a job people, as Niger Delta people. We don't want any form of anarchy in Rivers State, because Rivers State sits as a strategic developmental hub of the Niger Delta. And if anything happens to Rivers State, it's not just Rivers State people that will suffer. Niger Delta will suffer, and the entire Nigerian state will also suffer for it. So it's very strategic, and we are calling on the judiciary to think twice before making certain judgments that will hamper on the development of the growth of the economic growth of the people. They should look critically before making such assertion. And we call on the presidency to swing into action by calling what is AA and what is BB, not colluding with certain characters that are bent on destabilizing the sustainable peace that Governor Simfubara has maintained over the years.
Mr. Bedford,
he has maintained peace in Rivers State, and we are saying that if care is not taken, this can escalate to burn down, the entire Rivers State.
We hope that will not happen, and we will not advocate for that to happen in Rivers State, because of course what we want is peace and stability across the regions of the country. But then, looking at the facts presented on ground, Mr. Bedford, according to the judgments or the evidences on which that particular judgment was premised, it was said that the governor of the state presented a budget to a quorum that was not valid or recognized by law. Just 4 members of the legislative arm of government in the states actually received and approved that budget, and that was why a particular verdict was handed down that it needs not to have passed the budget, which actually led to the verdict saying that there should be a stop in allocations given to Rivers State. So does that not hold waters, looking at, so to speak, a violation of legislative procedure?
All right, thank you very much for bringing that to my notice. It is history we built witness in the progressive case of Rivers State. To say that 27 members is no longer news. That 27 members of the House of Assembly in Rivers State relinquished their seats by saying they are no longer members of PDP, and they have transited to the All Progressive Party. And the law is very clear. The PDP constitution, the law of the land is very, very clear that once a particular party, an individual that is voted in by a particular party, a political party, denounce membership of that party, he no longer has the prerequisite. He does not have the locus to occupy that political position. And that is what has happened in Rivers State. 27 lawmakers, they decided to say now they are no longer members of the PDP, they are now members of APC. That automatically has made their seats vacant, and the seat was declared vacant. There were advocacies, even from the government, to now urge INEC to conduct elections. INEC never conducted elections within the stipulated time to replace those persons that are said they are no longer members of PDP. So what is there? Only 4 members became members of National House of Assembly, became the Rivers State House of Assembly at the time where the budget needed to be passed. So the 7 persons, they are no longer members of party, and they are no longer members of the seats because of that cross-carpeting of political parties. And the law is very, very clear on that. The seat is declared vacant. They are no longer members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. So what should a sitting president do? Not demand that at that particular point, 4 persons have now established a quorum, knowing fully well that 27 persons are no longer part of the House of Assembly. So he is duty bound by the constitution of the land and by the laws of the land to ensure that he transmitted that budget defense to those 4 available persons. And that was what he did, and it was passed. The law is clear. We should not use sentiments. The judiciary should not use sentiments to interpret the law. It's very, very clear. It is stipulated in our laws. And that's what the governor has done. So to not use that as a yardstick to now judge is a sick one non. It's not a void, as it were. So that is the position of, and that's why we are saying that judiciary must be very careful to adjudicate powers to pass judgments that will cause Rivers State, to go the other way.
All right, Mr. Bedford.
And if care is not taken, that is the way it's going. Thank God for Sim Fubara, who has maintained decorum, who has maintained peace, and that is the position.
And we hope that peace, we hope that the mutual peace and understanding will be maintained in the states. Bedford, Berefa, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us on the news.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm grateful.
Of course. Well, we're still in Rivers State anyway. The Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau has confirmed the recovery of the black box containing both the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder from the Sikorsky SK-76 helicopter that crashed near Bonifinima off the coast of Calabar on October 24. The helicopter, operated by East Wind Aviation and contracted by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, was carrying 6 passengers and 2 crew members. 3 bodies have been recovered from the crash site. NSIB spokesperson Bimbola DG stated that the black box was retrieved with support from NNPC, NEMASA, and the Nigerian Navy, including the hydro dive. The device is now secured for analysis, which is crucial for understanding the crash sequence and informing safety measures. Efforts to continue to locate the missing individuals is said to continue. We're now going on a short break on the news. When we return, we'll tell you about demolition of homes at the FCT as outrage as Ruga residents react to the shooting of a resident. We'll bring you more when we're back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's now tell you that residents of Ruga, a suburb along the airport road in Abuja, have protested against the demolition of their homes at the Federal Capital Territory Administration. This is coming days after the FCTA task force, known as Operation Sweep, destroyed homes belonging to the residents of Ruga in a bid to clear the area following directives from the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
This is what is left of the Ruga village located in a suburb of the FCT, opposite the Abuja City Gate. From gunshot injuries to displacement of residents, the horrible memories of this demolition operation will linger long in the memories of the affected residents. The demonstration was led by prominent lawyer and activist Deji Adeyanju alongside Vincent Martins Otte, popularly known as Very Dark Man.
Maybe because of one of your friends or one of all these people that have given you money, maybe. Because it's always like that at the end of the day. So Nelson, we can think about all these people and even think about all these children before you continue this act.
More than 15,000 residents of the FCT in this location alone. You can see here children who their parents are directly affected. You can also see that there is a victim. One of the victims was shot.
Abdullah Mohammed is one of the victims. He didn't just lose his home, he received gunshot wound on the unfaithful day during the demolition operation.
Sun zo jiya za su rusau. Yawwa sun zo suna da yawa mun fara ciccire irin dakunan mu. To sai na samu dan sandan su guda ɗaya na tambaye shi da Allah akwai national ID card na boye shi a cikin silin. Zan je dauko ba matsala sai ce mun ba matsala sai na tafi da gudu sai na shiga cikin gidana sai na saka hannuna a cikin silib ina duba national ID card din na yaga kwalima sai ga wani dan sanda ya shigo da bindiga a hannunsa sai ce in fita sai na ce na yi magana da abokin aikin ku da Allah ina so zai dan cira national ID card ne tunda na ga konawa kuke in rushewa ake zan iya in an rushe zan cire to kawai kawai sai ya ce wai in fita daga cikin gurin sai na juya ina juyawa kafata ina daga kafata haka na juya kawai ya harbe ni pap dan sanda a kafa.
Activist Adeyanju called on President Bola Tinubu to intervene on the matter and consider the plight of those displaced by the operation.
We are appealing to the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces that Mr. President, you must do something about this, that these people are harassed frequently by members of the FCTA administration, that we are sending a note of warning to people in government and the ruling elite that the only way they sleep and the ruling elite can sleep is if poor people are allowed to sleep. That when poor people are not allowed to sleep, that the rich in the society will not be able to sleep.
Many of the residents here were initially forced out of their homes by insecurity in Borno, Adamawa, Yobe, Katsina, and several other states in the north. However, the so-called thought they would have gotten in the federal capital is now a failed dream. In Abuja for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
Away from that to election matters, political parties and candidates in Ondo State have signed a peace accord ahead of the November 16 governorship election. The signing, which took place on Friday at the International Culture and Events Center in Akure, the state capital, was organized by the National Peace Committee headed by former head of state Abdusalami Abubakar. Some of the parties present at the signing of the peace accord include the All Progressives Congress, People's Democratic Party, Labour Party, Action Democratic Party, and Zenith Labour Party, among others. Speaking at the event, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Mahmoud Yakubu, urged the candidates and their parties to commit to a peaceful election.
I hope of the Nigerian Peace Committee that Ondo State elections will be free, fair, credible, and peaceful. And every one of us to ensure that we will maintain the peace in the country. Because if there is no peace, there is no country.
The National Peace Committee accepted our request to devolve the signing of the peace accord beyond the presidential election to include off-cycle governorship elections in view of the tension and sometimes violence associated with these elections in the past.
Ondo State has been a peaceful state. In fact, even during this campaign, it's been peaceful. And you don't enjoy this in most states when election is almost about a week to the D-Day. But today we are enjoying relative peace.
Still talking party politics, the Edo State's chapter of the People's Democratic Party has inaugurated the caretaker committee members set up by the party's National Working Committee. They are to run the party's affairs pending the election of new executives. The committee is chaired by Tony Azidbimi with Henry Duke Tenebe as secretary. The committee is actually set and charged with the responsibility of running the affairs of the party in Edo State for a period not exceeding 90 days, that's about 3 months, until a new executive committee is elected. Speaking at the inauguration at the PDP Secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State Governor, Godwin Obaseki, expressed confidence that the party will reclaim its mandate stolen by the All Progressives Congress during the September 21 governorship poll. Now, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Betokun, has called for swift and comprehensive measures to combat the rise in juvenile crime affecting communities nationwide. Speaking at the inauguration of the Steering Committee for the annual IG Conference on Juvenile Crime Prevention in Abuja, Betokun emphasized the importance of addressing the issues and root causes primarily linked to family dynamics. Represented by the Assistant Inspector General Mohammed Dankwara, he highlighted the severe impact of youth crimes on communities. Chinedum Ikogwe, Executive Director of the Center for Family Peace, stated that the project aims to tackle the challenges of juvenile criminality, attributing the increase to parental neglect. The initiative will extend to all 36 states, underscoring the urgent need to prioritize youth guidance and family engagement in crime prevention efforts. So to further talk about this, I am joined by Toho Oseruwoja, who is a legal practitioner. Thank you so much, Mr. Oseruwoja, for joining us on the news.
You are welcome, Lekan.
So let's first understand what legal challenges or maybe gaps that actually fuel juvenile crime that we've seen pervade the country in a couple of years now.
Lekan, when you talk about juvenile crime, you discover that the event that just happened a few weeks ago or last week that resulted the president intervention and also resulted to a white cry is that we had procedural irregularities or procedural hiccup when it comes to juvenile crime. Then if you look at it basically, because when the procedures are not in place, obviously the society will not get to know the implications, or the family or the people involved, stakeholders involved, will not get to know implication of some of these things that occur. Now, the first issue is one, the institution, which is the Nigerian police now, which is the first agents when it comes to the administration of criminal justice, are they aware or are they properly equipped to fight juvenile crime? The answer is no, because several events has exposed it all. Then two, are they also intellectually capable to know what a juvenile crime is, or who can be categorized as a juvenile, and who are responsible or who can be held liable for any offense? The answer is no, because over time, they've disappointed Nigerians when it comes to the opportunity to prove themselves right. The criminal code makes it clear. The criminal code, which is applicable in the South, makes it clear. Section 30 of the criminal code talks about people who can be held liable for offenses. A child between when he was born, let me give that example, to 7 cannot be held liable for any offense or alleged offense that child would have committed. Then 7 to 12, there are procedures to follow to ascertain if the child is mentally or intellectually capable to have understand the nature of the offense he has committed. So we bring in the procedure of partial liability to that offense. Then when a child is above 12 years, which is the juvenile we are talking about, from 12 to 17, the child is liable. The juvenile is liable for the offense. But there are procedures to follow for such child to be held liable.
So is it that the Nigerian police force does not understand the stipulation or the position of the law, just as you have painted it? Because, you know, the PRO said that once you're 7 years, then you can't be convicted. And we know that they do go on periodical trainings to acquire knowledge as regards the procedures of the law and their ambits. So now that you're saying this, is it that they don't understand, or they just need to make these people in the picture that you painted as scapegoats, those who they perceive as enemies of the state?
No, you know, when it comes to the law, there's nothing like scapegoats. When it comes to issue of law, there's nothing like scapegoat. People are held liable for every offense, for any offense they committed. Do you get it? But you could see that the Nigerian police, I don't really know, over the time, they are the oldest institution we inherited from our colonial masters. But over the time, you discover that the Nigerian police are more of politically activated than professionally active. So that is where we get the problem wrong. Because if you look at from all perception, if you listen to the speech of the Inspector General of Police, with all due respect, you could see that there's a fundamental defect in his intention to fight juvenile crime, because it's not even telling Nigerians that, well, due to event that has happened, that just happened, we've got to understand the weakness in our own institution to fight juvenile crime. Everything pushed to the family. Yes, the family plays close to 50% of the input of a child. Whatever a child has been outside, the family plays is 60%. The other 50% is the society. And when the society and the institutions that make up the society are defects, obviously the defect button of the child or the juvenile will come to play. go back to the penal code, which is in the north, section 50. He also made it clear. But you see, we all have this problem. The problem is that when a crime is not properly defined and when the procedures are not properly followed, both the institution and the victim becomes the society, and the victim, which is the victim of the crime, we're not talking about the perpetrators now, becomes what? The scapegoat. In the sense, like, becomes the scapegoat. Let me use the word, the scapegoat, or becomes the double victim in the whole process.
Okay.
You could see what happened now. Now, a crime was committed, alleged crime was committed, a treasonable felony, a treasonable charge was framed. The president stepped in, ridiculed the court, and now because we're all looking at it from this perspective now. On the day that case will be, the day the case is adjourned, how would the judge look like?
Okay, so
the prosecutor prosecute the matter. So these are the issues we should look at.
So if we now have societal defects, and we have defects on the part, or we have an eroded, so to speak, security architecture that should deal with issues like this, how do we now strengthen the legal framework so as to deal with these issues, follow the process, deal with them, or probably there are policies or some kind of laws that should be brought on board to update what we have as of now, so that we have justice being served and we're able to follow the due process when it comes to dealing with juvenile crime?
No, Lekan, the laws are there. The laws are there. I just quoted the laws that stipulate.
So how do we now make it work? How do we make it work?
And the other thing. Then we should also look at, if you look at it, the laws when it comes to juvenile crime and the laws when it comes to handling of children or handling of juvenile in Nigeria, you look at the Child Rights Act. These are there. Do you understand? Then we now look at the institution, the police, the correctional facility, the judiciary. So these are issues, and if you look at it, they are all in place. But we are in a country where human influence override institutional policy. Human influence override institutional policy in the sense that whoever is there determines what should happen rather than what the law is saying. That is just the simple truth. So we coming back to circle there is nothing, if you look at, we have fantastic law. Nigeria has fantastic law, but the only problem we are having is institutions. We have stronger individual than weaker institutions. So when you talk about the Child Rights Act is there, which the police would have followed, which the society would have followed, which parents should follow, and even the court, the correctional facilities, all these are there to combat juvenile crime.
We hope that we can build stronger institutions than individuals in this country. That's the only way we can get it right. Toho Osorowoja, it was nice talking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
Away from that, we take you to Abia State. Now, the state has defrayed its debt burden by more than half. The state governor, Alex Oti, disclosed this at a media chat at the banquet hall of the government house in Umuahia. Governor Oti also hinted on plans to prosecute some workers arrested recently over alleged pension scam. News Central's Chinwelgele tells us more.
Briefing journalists on Thursday, Governor Alex Oti hints that his administration has defrayed more than half of the debt burden of 191.2 billion naira it inherited from the past government.
Between 29th of May to the last quarter, this government has paid almost 90 billion out of the 191 billion. So we are owing actually less than 100 billion now.
The General Manager of Debt Management Office in Abia State, Kingsley Nweboro, confirms that the government is consistently offsetting the debts since assumption of office.
And as he continues paying regularly, the money continued dropping and dropped to 108.4 billion naira as at 30 June 2024. And it is now of good news that the last quarter we are into now, that is the third quarter that ended the 30th September this year, 2024, the money has reduced to 89.3 billion naira.
This sum, according to the General Manager of the Debt Management Office, include old salaries and pensions, as well as borrowings from commercial banks.
45% was money owed to banks. Then the other percentage was money owed to pensioners and contractors.
The governor once again announced that his government is yet to borrow for the first time since it assumed office.
So that's the way to measure how effective government is. And government has been doing all the things it's been doing, building roads, cleaning up everywhere, getting our healthcare delivery system to work, paying pensioners, paying workers. So how are we doing it? Some people are asking how we are doing it.
For this, the DMO General Manager says it may still happen in future, even though it must be tied to projects.
One day the governor will go for borrowing. Dr. Alex will go for borrowing. But the difference is that he's going to borrow to invest.
Governor Oti at the media chat also reveals the government's plan to prosecute some workers arrested over alleged pension scam.
I got a report of the investigation from the security agencies, and I have authorized that in the next few days they should be arraigned before the courts to come and tell us how come they are stealing from the state. From the report I got, about 10 or 11 of them. Some of them are outside the country. We're going to repatriate them to answer to their state, to their sins.
The media chat is a monthly interface between the governor and journalists where the latter has the opportunity to ask the governor questions on areas of concerns. In Omaha for News Central, I am Chinwe Ugili.
Let's now take you to the southern parts of Africa to tell you that Mozambique's opposition has promised fresh protests as a rights group said at least 30 people had been killed in 3 weeks of demonstrations over contested election results. The Southern African nation has been rocked by violence since the ruling Frelimo party was announced winner of the October 9 elections with more than 70% of votes. The party has been in power for almost 50 years. Opposition leader Venancio Mondlane, who won 20% of the vote according to the election authority, claims the election was rigged. He has called his supporters onto the streets in protest. As Africa Energy Week ends, it continues to ignite conversations, innovations, and collaborations aimed at transforming the energy landscape across the continent. On Thursday, the spotlight shone brightly on women who have been tagged as powerful agents of change in an industry traditionally dominated by men. News Central's Bongane Siziba has more in this report.
While women have long played a crucial role in the energy sector, their participation and influence are now being recognized and celebrated. This panel discussion is dedicated to exploring the significant contributions of women in energy, discussing both disparities they face and the remarkable strides they have made.
We have met a lot of people, potential partners, and there's been quite a lot of collaborations and also a lot of solutions to the specific and unique energy challenges of Africa. And they're scalable solutions. They're solutions that we find very practical and workable. So it's been quite productive.
Currently, women present a small margin of workforce in energy sector. Some barriers to entry and advancement include gender bias, lack of access to funding, and limited networking opportunities. These challenges can deter talented women from pursuing careers in vital industry.
I think in Africa we have less than 25% of the energy professionals being women. The barriers would remain culture. Barriers would remain. Women in Africa, working in Africa would typically prioritize family life over their careers, or they would pick careers that allow them more time and more flexibility to be a wife, to be a mom, to be a nurturer, to be a home giver, and also just the perception that it's an old boys club and there's not enough spaces for them.
However, the narrative is evolving. Some women are shattering the glass ceilings and leading groundbreaking projects that redefine Africa's energy potential. Their stories of resilience and innovation serve as a testament to what is possible when barriers are dismantled and opportunities are created.
I'll talk about our responsibility that I feel has been bestowed on me just recently as a recipient of the 25 under 40 Women in Africa Energy. I do feel it's a responsibility for me to be able to tell other women to be curious about the energy space, to understand what contribution can they bring to the table, whether they understand the energy concept on its as a whole, or they're in the value chain of where they can have support services within the energy industry. So be curious in the energy space and understand that each of us has a responsibility to be able to contribute to eradicate energy poverty.
From renewable energies initiative in rural communities to groundbreaking technologies in urban centers, African women are at the helm of some of this continent's most innovative energy projects. Their diverse perspective and unique approaches not only address the pressing energy needs, but also pave the way for sustainable development. As Africa Energy Week comes to a close, the ongoing discourse on empowering women in energy is vital. By fostering an inclusive environment, they can harness their full potential. The future of energy in Africa is bright, and it is shaped by invaluable contributions of women. In Cape Town for News Central, Wongani Sisiba.
Away from the shores of Africa and talking about U.S. election updates, former U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi said Democrats might have fared better in Tuesday's election if President Joe Biden had exited the race sooner. Pelosi, one of the most powerful politicians in Washington, said had President Biden gotten out sooner, there may have been other candidates in the race. Her remarks are the latest finger pointing from Democrats after the party lost hold of the White House and potentially both chambers of Congress on Tuesday. Pelosi is widely reported to have led the Democrats' push to oust Biden, who ended up leaving the race at the end of July after weeks of pressure following a poor debate performance against Donald Trump. Away from that to health, WHO Director General Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus has highlighted the escalating threat of ransomware attacks on healthcare facilities. Speaking during an address to the United Nations Security Council, Ghebreyesus warned that these cyber attacks go beyond financial disruption. The WHO Director General emphasized the severe impact of cyber attacks on hospitals and healthcare services, calling for urgent and collective global action to address this growing crisis.
Let's be clear at the outset that ransomware and other cyber attacks on hospitals and other health facilities are not just issues of security and confidentiality. They can be issues of life and death. At best, these attacks cause disruption and financial loss. At worst, they undermine trust in the health system on which people depend and even cause patient harm and death.
In sports, the duo of Moses Shehua and Samuel Tiza will miss Lobby Stars' Nigeria Premier League football matchday 11 clash against Abia Warriors. Both players have been ruled out of the game due to injury. Meanwhile, Lobby Stars welcome back Stanley Ogambo to the team after sitting out their last game against Remo Stars in Ikene. Lobby Stars will host Abia Warriors at the Lafia City Stadium on Saturday. But I'll tell you that Lecce sacked coach Luca Gotti on Saturday after a poor round of results left them floating in the Serie A relegation zone. Lecce, 18th in the standings with 9 points, drew 1-1 at the home with 10th placed Empoli on Friday. In a statement released on their website, Lecce announced today that Luca Gotti has been relieved of his duties as first-team coach. 57-year-old Gotti, former coach of Udinese and Spezia, was appointed in March to replace Roberto Davasa, with Lecce 1 point above the relegation zone, and they finished the campaign 14th on the table. With Gotti's departure, Lecce has now become the second Italian top-flight club to fire their manager after AS Roma sacked Daniel De Rossi. in September. And that's all at this hour. Before we go, let's look at our top stories again. Scores of ISWAP militants killed by Nigerian military airstrikes in Lake Chad area. Human Rights Panel indicts Nigeria's military over deaths of children in Nigeria's northeast. We also told you that death toll from Mozambique election protests rises to at least 30. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, StarTimes channel 274, Avo TV and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Lekan Onabanjo.